And now, our feature presentation.
Hello everyone and welcome to our feature presentation. I'm Neil and I'm here today with Phobe. Say hi, Phobe.
Hi, I have a cold. It's going away, but that's if I sound weird for anyone who cares.
Yeah. And today we're going to be talking about Hoodwinked from 2005.
I don't know if anyone knows what Hoodwinked is, but it's like... it made me laugh. I looked it up on Google, and its genre is mystery thriller. It's like... I mean, it's not...
They're not wrong.
It's effectively... It's a animated movie, kind of almost in the same line or same wheelhouse as Shrek, where it's doing self-aware Grimm's fairy tale kind of retelling.
Yeah, it was around that time Shrek was popular, so I think everyone was kind of doing the whole we'll make fun of fairy tales type thing.
The reason Neil had to cut out the little bit of audio right there was
but you don't have to tell them
because I was strangling somebody and they started talking again. So
that's true.
I got to make sure to cover my tracks. I can at least tell you that I was strangling someone, but nobody knows who I am. So
you tell someone you were strangling someone, but you can't tell them you were having a coughing attack.
Anyways, in Hoodwinked, the plot of it is pretty much it's Little Red Riding Hood. Well, it's supposed to be this Little Red Riding Hood, but it's told from the angle of every character. So it's told from Granny's perspective, the wolf, Red Riding Hood, and the woodsman, right? But it's supposed to be like a crime thriller where something happened that got them all in that house at the same time.
Well, that's a fun idea, but I think my problem is that I know it's a kids movie, it's a comedy version of it, but it's weird that it's the story of Little Red Riding Hood, but it's in the actual story the wolf gets murdered by the lumberjack dude,
the woodsman.
Yeah, and it's kind of that's not part of it, of course.
No,
they're just all there, and it's I guess crimes were committed because there was a break-in and stuff, but it's really unclear why the police are really investigating this because there's not that much to it.
But yeah, no, this is one of those movies that I looked at the time. It's an hour and 20 minutes, right?
Mm-hmm.
But it feels like it's a 2-hour movie. While I was watching it, because you go through all 4 stories, so obviously there's overlap, and that's where where they can do jokes and stuff that way, where you didn't see this character's perspective, and then it shows it's it was all a misunderstanding or something, or that actually did happen. It wasn't just a hallucination, right? But it's it slows down after the first story, which is Red's story, which is Little Red Riding Hood. After her story, it slows down a lot because you start seeing the same things happening again and again. Obviously, it's from different characters' perspectives, so there are differences, in how they're talking about it and how they're experiencing it, but you're getting the same story multiple times, right?
I mean, yeah, they do things to mix up, though. They have, I was saying while we were watching it, there's that little squirrel character. What's his name? Twitchy. And it's they have him doing funny stuff because there's a sequence where it's just the exact same sequence from earlier, but told from a different point of view, and they just kind of focus on him because they know kids will get bored if
they have to watch the same scene twice, effectively.
Yeah.
So they just show why some things are happening is because Twitchy's doing stuff behind the scenes that we didn't see when we were talking about through Red Riding Hood's perspective.
And it's one of the more clever things this movie does. I mean,
it's smarter than just showing us the same scene over again,
I guess.
But that's the thing, though, is that those 4 stories, Red, Wolf, Granny, and the Woodsman, is that makes up the beginning part of the movie, but that's only the first 2/3 of it. There's a whole another third of them having to stop the Goody Bandit.
Yeah, I do not remember, even as a kid, I do not remember that section. I remember I watched the movie, but that's just blocked from my memory, because, it's very boring.
I should also say, this is one of those movies, again, where the only reason I suggested we watch it was because it's a movie from my childhood that I really like for some reason. And I don't know, like, it's like Sinbad, like Dougal, like all that stuff. It's like, I just watch a lot of really shitty kids movies. And this was one of my favorites. I loved Hoodwinked so much, and watching it now, it's like...
I watched this too. I don't want to sound pretentious, which I know I'm going to sound like, but like, even as a kid watching it, I knew it wasn't very good.
You had days.
And there was moments I thought was funny. Like, I remember bits from the trailer, like, thinking those was funny, and I remember, like, kids from class, like, quoting them all the time. But I remember there was a certain point in the movie where it tries to be sad, and it tries to make you, like, where it's not just trying to be funny, it's trying to make you actually care about the plot.
Mm-hmm.
And I just completely, like, blank out at that point, and I just stopped caring about the movie.
That's actually a good segue into the fact that this movie has an original soundtrack.
It does, for some reason.
It's like it's really weird because, like, I guess the songs aren't like horrible or anything, but it's like they spent all this extra time and money getting artists to record like songs just for this movie.
Well, to be fair, they probably saved a lot more money by doing that, because then they didn't have to, like, obtain the rights to currently existing music.
I feel like getting stock music or just getting someone to do score and not, like actual full-on, like, lyrical stuff.
Yeah.
Would have probably been the smarter idea. I think what they thought is that once they got an original soundtrack, they could sell the soundtrack separately. You know, like the Shrek soundtrack or whatever.
Yeah.
Although that isn't original soundtrack, it's just a bunch of pop songs, but...
I was going to say, like, going back to the Shrek thing, because we compared it to Shrek, I don't think this movie is, like... It's not just a direct ripoff of Shrek. I'll give it credit in that sense, because it doesn't feel like it's, like, parroting fairy tales, really. Like, it's not specifically making fun of Disney or, like, the way fairy tales are told. It's more just, like, wouldn't it be funny if Little Red Riding Hood did karate or something? It's that kind of comedy.
Wouldn't it be funny if the wolf was just a really nosy investigative reporter, right?
Yeah.
Or that the granny was a... Granny has an extreme... G. Yeah, these Triple G's, an extreme sports
we don't know... Is the Triple G thing a reference to Triple X?
Yeah, because it's even formatted the same way, where it's like 2 G's in the center G it's like 3 G's in the center G is like risen above, and it has that like tribal tattoo font where it's like really edgy.
I noticed you got 3 X's on your neck. That's appropriate since you're looking at 3 strikes. Grand Theft Auto, reckless endangerment, and that little bridge stunt of yours.
Excuse me while I kiss the sky.
I think the best part about that is, like, she has a neck tattoo that's really visible, but she's been keeping this a secret from her grandchild this whole time. It's just like everyone noticed it immediately. Like the detective's like, "Oh, I noticed you have a tattoo on the back of your neck," and they show it, and it's just like perfectly in center. Her hair is above it, her shirt's below it.
Because if there's 2 things that Granny doesn't do, it's tell lies and extreme sports.
Which is great. It's just like, what? Those were the 2 things you told me you never do.
And that's another thing, because I was saying, like, I hate that sad sequence where it tries to be all, like, sappy and sad and make you care. It's not as bad as I remembered as a kid, because they do still have, like, jokes and stuff during that time. But, like
our favorite is, like, who is that Red Riding Hood? No, it's just some kid. Oh, there she goes! And it's just some guy in a red tracksuit.
Just some guy in a red... That was actually a good joke. Like, this movie is not... I mean, there'll be 1, 2, or 3 good jokes throughout the whole thing. It's not...
It's like Angry Birds 2. There is a couple of jokes that I really like in Angry Birds 2, but the entire movie as a whole is not anything to be, like... Don't go and buy it to watch those 2 jokes, you know?
Yeah, like, it's... you know, it's not worth watching it just for those jokes, but if you have to watch this or you're being forced to for some reason, then...
Like, we were at gunpoint by our evil twins.
Of course.
Which all happened off screen. We didn't do the whole thing.
It's like a Channel Awesome, like, sketch.
Yeah, no, every single one of these podcasts always has some giant elaborate, like, reason behind why we're doing it, but we just never disclose it.
We just don't show it.
But no, the point you were going to make before we got distracted by me distracting you, was you were talking about the sad sequence.
Well, yeah, because it doesn't feel like it's earned, because it's all the grandma did was she says she was busy when she was actually out playing extreme sports, which if my grandma did that, I'd be like,
Grandma!
Cool. Like, way to go, Grandma, you're playing extreme sports, you know? I don't care if you said you were too busy to hang with me, but instead Red Riding Hood is, like, completely, like, crushed by this, and it's, like, treated like the big emotional moment of the movie. It's stupid.
But
we didn't even talk about the animation.
Well, that's what I was gonna say. It's the jewel of this whole discussion is the fact that Hoodwinked is a 2005 film that looks like it's pre-VeggieTales.
Yeah,
like it's terrible looking.
Thanks, Weinstein Company.
That's right. You see that logo at the beginning of.
Yeah. That's the beginning of, even Paddington has the Weinstein Company
then
logo.
You go,
yeah.
I'm gonna have to take off my perfect 10 out of 10 score for that one.
Well,
sorry
give
Paddington
a pass.
Okay, Paddington's the only one that's
I'm sure
allowed.
Paddington wasn't even filmed, like, wherever Harvey Weinstein's located. I'm sure it was filmed far away.
It's the Weinstein, it's just like
the great UK.
I love Paddington. But that's not what we're talking about. We're talking about bad CG animals.
Well, yeah.
And we're talking about Hoodwinked and how, like, also one of the... I like that just for no reason one of the background characters is just a person in a fursuit.
Yeah, why?
Just like a dude in a fursuit. Like
That's funny now that I think about it, but I didn't even notice. I wasn't thinking about that. I was just like, they're in a fairy tale land, so there's weird people and stuff, but I don't know. I didn't even think about that.
It's such a... Yeah, there's just gonna be things that's like, you might laugh at them, right? Because it's like the movie's not awful in some of the jokes that they tell, but it's like, it's not good in any other ways.
I was saying, like, the people in this, especially the, I keep saying lumberjack, the woodsman, like, he looks just like those, like, YouTube videos for kids that are CG, and it's, like, the worst CG animation. It looks exactly like that.
Johnny, yes, Papa.
It's it's hard to believe, like, because this came out in theaters, I remember.
It's theatrical, really?
Yeah, it was. At least in the... I mean, we're in Canada now, but, like, in the U.S., I know it was. And it's, like, the fact that this could be released like that is, like, I can't believe... It looks worse than Toy Story. Like, Toy Story somehow, even though the animation's not the best, it still holds up. Like, it's charming to watch.
I think that's just due to the fact that they're toys and made of plastic and
stuff.
So
that's probably a big part of it.
The fact that if they have, like, lumpy features or like really shiny skin, it's like, that makes sense, right? Because when you see the humans, they look like potato people. Good. Yeah. So it's like, when it's all humans, it's all potato people. Or the animals look better than the humans because, you know, they have fur to cover up all those gross lumps.
Well, I mean, the dog in the first Toy Story. Oh, we're talking about Hoodwinked, though.
Yeah.
I thought you meant Toy Story, in which case the dog does not look the best.
No, we heartily regret referencing Toy Story in this way.
Well, I was going to say, that's like the difference between, like, CG and 2D animation. As a difference is 2D animation ages a lot better.
Oh, yeah.
But that's the thing, like, there's a lot of people today who will still be like CG animated movies suck. They don't have the life of a 2D animated movie. But then you go compare, like, a modern day movie like Frozen or Tangled or whatever, and then look back at Hoodwinked, and it's like, oh my god, like, how could you even make that comparison?
We finally reached it, everybody. Frozen is the peak of animation. Hoodwinked is the bottom.
I laughed a lot during this movie, but, like, pretty much everything I laughed at was just the animation. Like, it was so hard to believe that this, like, they just let that go as, like, a pass, like, it was good enough. And we're looking at the credits, and, like, each character was animated by a different person.
They all, like, because there was, like, you know, after them there was a giant list of animators, but individual character, like they did the voices, and then every individual character had a lead, like texture artist, a lead animator, and a lead modeler, right?
Yeah, it was like designer or
but
something.
They all had a different one. I'm sure there was a little bit of overlap we didn't see, but like very often it would be like, oh, different modeler, different modeler, different modeler, different It's like, why did they divide it up like that?
I feel like this was made by, like, it was very ambitious, like, in the sense that someone who didn't know how hard animation actually was, like the Weinstein Company was just like, oh, we'll make this movie animated, kids will love it, and they didn't actually know how hard that is, so they hired a bunch of people who don't really know what they're doing to make it. That's what it feels like.
Mm-hmm. And I mean, like, you can probably tell that it's because, like, even though they look terrible, like, the main characters still look, like, marginally better than every other, like, side character, or like, the good example is, like, the main villain's henchman.
Mm-hmm.
It's like you're saying they look like they're straight out of a pre-rendered PS2 cutscene. Like, this movie is, when people say, like, oh, this is like PS2 graphics, it's like, this is that movie.
Okay, so, yeah, this whole movie
is the intro to some sort of, I don't know, Animal Kart racing game.
It looks like either PS2 graphics or an opening cutscene, like a CG cutscene or whatever, to a PS1 game.
Mm-hmm.
And, like, I kept getting, like, flashbacks to, like, I don't know, like, Twisted Metal or whatever, especially, like you said, the henchmen.
Mm-hmm.
They look just like they belong in, like, a PlayStation 1 game, or, like, a cutscene from there then.
It's because the way that they're modeled, it's like they... Because, like, the people who model them obviously go, like, oh, yeah, no, they have, like, cheekbones and stuff, right? But it's like, since I'm assuming the technology they used to actually model them, or their skill level was really low, the modeling software was bad, or their skill level was low, they, like, do that thing where they, like, really over-exaggerate their facial features, and then it just makes them look really lumpy and gross, and, like, the edges are either too soft or too sharp, and it's just like...
And you were saying that, like, that there's that one villain, that one henchman, is on the cover?
Yeah,
for some reason?
Yeah.
I don't know why.
He's just... And he's not even, like, super significant or anything. He's probably the most, like, recognizable of the henchmen.
Yeah. Maybe it's just they were proud of that model.
They're like, oh, we found somebody in the office who can do an Arnold Schwarzenegger impression.
Yeah.
Let's put him on.
But yeah, that's
that whole character. It's just, they found somebody in the office. It's just like The Wild with Colin Cunningham.
Somehow they got, like, big name voice actors for it. I mean, they got Anne Hathaway and...
They got Exhibit.
Yeah, who is Exhibit?
I don't know who Exhibit is.
I was wondering who that is. Maybe he's a rapper.
But I mean, if their name is just a single word,
if
it's like a stage name, you know, it's like, you know, they're a big deal. So, well, do we have anything more to talk about?
Yes, I was gonna say something about
animation, original soundtrack, Exhibit, big names, Anne Hathaway.
Oh, well, we were talking about, like, awful character designs, and I was just thinking about, like, Little Red Riding Hood has, like, a permanent, like, DreamWorks face.
Yeah.
She always has that, like, one raised eyebrow, and it's just, she looks so smug all the time.
It's not the one raised, she has, her eyes never fully open.
Yeah.
Her eyelids are always, like, a little bit down. Like, even there's a scene where she's, like, you know, the big reveal who the bad guy is. I'm not going to spoil it for anyone who's interested in watching this movie. But she's, like, you know, surprised, like, oh my god, it's you. But her eyes, they, like, you know, they open a little bit. But they're still, like...
Still, like...
So it looks like she's, like, Tim Heidecker. When she's surprised, she's like, what?
Yeah.
So, it's great.
To make fun of Toy Story for their eyes, like... Where they do the thing where they can't blink
both eyes at the same time.
Yeah.
They managed to do it with this one, right?
Yeah, I think so.
I don't know why that was I don't know why that was ever a problem.
I mean, it was early in, like, the CG technology thing. Initially, the first CG movie would have been that John Lasseter Where the Wild Things Are movie, because it would have had the CG backgrounds but 2D animation.
Ooh.
But and I think the reason for that is because they didn't know how to do character models at that point in time. But that didn't happen. So.
Fuck that.
Yeah.
Alright. Well, then that's everything we have to talk about, right?
Yeah, I guess that's everything we have to say about Hoodwinked. Well, I guess we should say... Do you like Hoodwinked? Is it a good movie? Would you recommend
No.
Hoodwinked?
No, I would not recommend Hoodwinked.
Oh, also, the end of this movie has that whole like secret agent thing where they're hired for like an organization.
And then they actually go through with it 8 years later or whatever for Hoodwinked 2, and that's spelled like Dumb and Dumber 2.
Let me look up when that happened. It was...
Also, I should also mention that this has been the most expensive episode of our feature presentation. It cost me $4.
Oh, yeah.
Because we could not find...
For Hoodwinked.
We could not illegally... Not that we do not illegally watch movies, but we just in this one situation could not.
Yeah, Hoodwinked 2 came out like 6 years later in 2011. And it's like, why? I don't know.
They were waiting on it. They were waiting on the Hoodwinked cinematic universe.
I'm surprised we didn't watch like Hoodwinked 2 for a double feature thing, but I don't think...
I don't really want to watch
Hoodwinked 2.
Yeah,
after watching the first one and now seeing that this movie has like
they didn't have
even worse reviews than the first one somehow.
They didn't get like Patrick Warburton or Anne Hathaway back, I don't think. So
there's no point.
Yeah. All right. Well, I think that's it then.
All right, that's it.
This is the third time it's been over.
Don't watch Hoodwinked.
Don't watch Hoodwinked.
It's not as good as you remember.
Don't spend $4 on it.
Don't spend $4. Don't spend... you can spend $1 on it.
Yeah, fine.
I'd say it's worth
Walmart.
that.
Yeah. All right.
Thanks everyone for watching.
Bye.